code in 3 months and got a job. Is that correct?
Yeah.
How?
Well, it's actually a pretty long story.
Which started a long time ago. Even further than this. I think we actually need to go back to the point which brought me here making this video today. It was just around the time I graduated from high school. And just like every 17-year-old kid, I felt pretty lost. But life doesn't care about those things and moves on. And after high school, the next logical step is college. The only problem was that I had literally no clue what the fuck I was going to do with my life. But I did know one thing though. In school, I only sort of liked 2 courses. The first one, of course, being gymnastics. Just because it was the place where I would run around, letting all that build-up energy go like a total moron. And the second one, which is actually much more interesting for this video, was computer science, where we got the chance to f*** around with Photoshop, this online game maker and other cool stuff. And although I still wasn't paying that much attention, computers just had something interesting about them. So then of course it's time to visit all these different schools with different study programs. And not knowing what the hell I wanted to do, I just went to all of them. Computer science, business information, facility management, the School of Art, and I even went to the one for a grade teacher. Like, who the hell thought that that might be a good idea? And out of those, and trust me, many more, only 2 stuck with me. And they both included IT. And honestly, I got stuck on a split road. On one side, business information management, where you learn about computers, data and IT, but mixed with economics. Basically getting some knowledge about both, but both not in depth. And on the other hand, computer science, which obviously learns you all in depth about IT and gives you the basics to become a software developer. And because I'm pretty energetic, me and everyone around me thought it was a better idea for me not to sit behind a computer all day and stare at little characters. And with time ticking, I just had to choose. So I went for business information management. So I went to college and actually got my degree, which now sounds easy, but it's almost a story on its own. Long story short, I was just the worst student you could possibly imagine. Like, I had to literally beg people to take me into their team because no one wanted to work with me. And I remember just hating every minute I spent on that school. But there was one thing that could actually intrigue me, and that was coding. Which was the only thing that actually kind of inspired me and gave me some fulfillment while doing. Just the ability to build something from scratch and also the need for some in-depth knowledge. It just always felt so cool to do, but also so far away. Also because I had only one class of basic HTML and CSS coding. And I even tried to learn it during my university on the side, buying a Udemy Flutter course, downloading Android Studio and printing Hello World on the screen. But after the setup, just not pulling through. Not finding enough motivation to keep going after the first 3 lessons and always ending up quitting and never touching it again. And me, still pretty naive at 20 years old, but with a decent degree in my pocket, got a job offer for an IT company as a salesman, which I accepted, not really taking a moment to think about what I really wanted to do, but just doing what was expected from me. And during that period of time, there was always one thing that bothered me. Since my degree didn't give in-depth knowledge and I cheated my way through it, I always found myself knowing things sort of. So very often when I spoke about things, I realized I really didn't know all the ins and outs about it. Which is maybe what a salesman job is all about, but for me it really created this feeling of insecurity, which then led to things like me not speaking up in meetings while I normally would, customers who would have questions which I would not directly have the answers to, and many more things like that. And all of these things, and a complete mismatch between me and my colleagues about, I think, literally everything, made this honestly one of the darkest periods of my life. And also remember that I was only 20 years old, so all my friends were still partying throughout the week while I was stuck at this job I hated so much. And actually by normal standards was supposed to do it for the rest of my life, while I felt so depressed while doing it. So at one point I just looked at myself in the mirror and I knew I just could not take it any longer. This wasn't what I was meant to do, and although my environment was not supporting at all, because throwing away a secure job was just unspoken of. But I decided for the first time in my life to choose for myself, say fuck it for once in my lifetime, and I quit my job to pursue my own passion and dreams. So I took a year off to do a lot of shit that I wanted to do. Again, different video, but also to think and reflect on the last couple of years. Thinking about how I never wanted to feel like that time again. And also me changing as a person in comparison to the person I was at 17 years old. At 17 years old, it's not cool to be an introvert. It's way cooler to be a guy at a party who talks to everyone and is essentially an extrovert. Which I maybe still am, but there's also another side to me that likes to be alone and really likes solid, concrete things. Things not up for interpretation. But also feelings like I wasted the last 4 years of my life started to boil up. My degree leading to a job that made me feel borderline depressed, added with the fact that I learned no actual value because I went to school because I had to, and not because I wanted to learn an actual skill or something. I mean, at 17 years old, I wasn't thinking about a job or that it would be useful to pay attention for later in life. I mean, I was barely thinking at all. But I was now piecing some stuff together. I was not the 17-year-old kid anymore. I sometimes like to be alone, and I found out at this point I was pretty capable to do a lot of concentrated work. Additionally, I also have this natural urge to really want to know how things work from the core. And computers interested me since I was in high school. And on top of those things, I somehow always got drawn back to coding. Touching it, but just not being disciplined enough to actually learn it. And looking at all this, you probably feel it too. Everything in my life was pointing to coding and computer science. And trust me, I felt it too. And it actually felt like a way out. So I immediately started to look for different universities, telling myself I'd just start over from scratch again, essentially forgetting and wiping away these last 4 years. But pretty fast I was disappointed again. Since I already finished the degree, doing another one in my country would cost a lot of money, which I just didn't have. And I just wish I could go back in time 4 years and then just scream at myself to pick computer science, to make the right choice, but I simply couldn't. Once again destroying that little bit of hope. So I was forced to look for solutions somewhere else. So I started to look online and I came across this video of a guy who just learned to code all by himself. No school, no university, and it could be his looks, but this guy actually got a job offer. And although every video that I watched did say it was really hard and not easy at all, it actually gave me some hope and things finally started falling into place. Because I was already learning a lot of new things with this channel and the gap year was almost coming to an end. And I knew I needed to find a new job, but I never wanted to go back to the one I had before. So clinging on to that little bit of hope, it was finally time to see if my itching feeling since I was 17 years old was right. Time for some long hours, just me and my computer. Time to see if I indeed had enough discipline now to actually learn it. It was time to see if you can correct your mistakes, even if it takes 4 years out of your life. And ladies and gentlemen, it was finally time to learn how to code.
Okay, so first day I'm going to start the CS50 course from Harvard University. I don't know what to expect, except that it's very good. I'm really excited, so I'm just going to start.
Okay, so what the hell is CS50? Let me explain really quick. CS50 is an online course named An Introduction to Computer Science, made by the Harvard University. Yeah, one of the best universities in the world. And when you're a Harvard computer science student, this is the actual first course that you get in your program. And one day Harvard just decided to record every lesson lesson on the campus. So you get the same lessons, same teachers, same assignments, same jokes as the actual Harvard students. But for this course you don't have to pay $80,000 a year. It's actually completely free. It's insane and I didn't believe it as well. But since my new best friend and a lot of other people advise to start with this course when you learn to code, just because of the quality of this course, I decided to take this route as well.
Okay, so we just finished lecture 1. The teacher, his name is David, I think. He's a funny guy. So shout out to David. And he just went basically to the basics, to the 0, to the 1s, to the bits and the bytes. And some things I remembered I was taught at high school. But it's such a long time ago and I've basically forgotten everything because I'm just a dipshit. The first lecture was almost 2 hours. I feel like I've learned so much. The 2 hours just flew by and I really liked it. I really enjoyed it. So first day done, very excited for day 2.
So I was off to a flying start. But at day 3, things started to get more complex pretty fast.
Okay, so it's day 3 of the coding journey. I'm now starting to code, which is hard. I'm making a lot of stupid beginner mistakes, like forgetting a semicolon, mixing up uppercases, lowercases, all those little annoying things. But I am enjoying it. I just needed some fresh air because I've been staring at my computer for like 2.5 hours and trying to take in as much knowledge as I can, which is quite fun and challenging to say the least. Okay guys, so this is probably looking like a weird language to you, but I'm so happy. Look at this. This is one of my first code that I did. So look at this. Let's go! 0, it asks again. 100, it asks again. I type 4 and it gives me 4 hashes. Okay, so I basically feel like Bill Gates right now. So as you can see, I quite enjoyed myself with the course. And the first week went by pretty quickly, as all new things often do. But as I made progress in the course, I also slowly began to learn what it meant to become a software developer. And also what kind of mindset it requires you to have. It's day 9 of me trying to learn to program. And let me just say, if you need some humbling with your intelligence and you think you're pretty smart, you should start to learn to program, because I just feel so stupid. And I've literally spent this whole morning just to finish the first 2 steps. And it's kind of an assignment of like 10 steps. You're looking now at like 2 hours of coding for a beginner. We're having fun, but it's really hard and my brain sometimes is basically exploding. I'm just going to continue every day and I keep you guys updated for sure. And I was all in, working at least a couple of hours on the course every day. So progress at first went pretty fast. I've just finished week 2. It was hard. The homework and the problem sets were really hard to do. It's day 15 and I'm now starting with week 3, which is algorithms. But progress began to slow down, and the main reason was the difficulty of the problem sets. So generally speaking, each week had a lecture of a couple of hours and some short videos explaining one or multiple topics of computer science. Additionally, each week had 2 assignments. One called a lab, which was assignments where the students were allowed to work together, and one called a problem set, which was generally speaking way more difficult and they had to do all by themselves. And these problem set motherfuckers were, and this is putting it mildly, a pain in my fucking ass. Okay, so after about 3 days, I finally finished problem set 3, the runoff. So I solved the problem set. I'm so happy. Let's go! And I know to you guys this just looks like some simple green text, but these problem sets took me so much time to solve. As I said, it was no exception if I'd spent 3 days on just one problem set. Just failing over and over again, getting errors that I didn't understand and just feeling so stupid. But when I finally solved one, I remember just literally screaming of joy. And that story pretty much repeated itself over and over again. If it's all green, we're good. Come on, baby. Oh Lord, what is that? Half an hour later. Come on, baby, come on. Give me green, 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 green. Oh, fucking hell. Third time's the charm. Let's go. Come on. Let's go!
So yeah, it's been quite an emotional roller coaster. But after riding this ride for what seemed like an eternity, I could finally see the light at the end of the tunnel.
And after week 5, so actually week 6, we were finally able to move on to other programming languages besides C. And that was a huge relief because, don't get me wrong, C is a great language for learning the fundamentals and concepts of coding, but in the real world, it isn't used all that much. So at times, it felt like totally wasting my time learning a language I was never going to use. But that period was finally over, which got me excited. And with that excitement, I also decided to buy a book to try and accelerate my progress even more and learn even faster. And as the course neared its end, my anticipation and excitement started to grow for one thing. I just want to build my own projects. I really can't wait to finish this course and work out my own ideas and my own websites and my own projects. I think I learn faster when I build things that I personally want to build. I could be wrong, but I'm just so excited to code my first own project and not the course's project. But I made a promise with myself that I had to finish the course before I could build my own project. And of course, to test my patience, I experienced some delays during my progress. Like a vacation where I managed to forget everything I've learned in the week prior to the vacation, making me redo a whole week, and me still trying to upload YouTube videos, costing me another week for editing and recording. But when those things were finally done and I hadn't planned a vacation or a new video, I very slowly started to defeat my enemy one at a time, not giving up and staying consistent. Until the 90 days of staring at a screen, the 90 days of feeling overwhelmed and stupid, and the 90 days of coding and learning almost every day started paying off. And I suddenly found myself on a point where I would have never imagined myself standing. And this point obviously being the end of the CS50 Introduction to Computer Science Harvard University course. I need to whisper, but I'm at the last week of the course. Guys, I'm so proud to announce I kind of finished the CS50 Introduction to Computer Science course. Oh, let's go! Bro, this course was a real struggle. I'm not going to lie, this is the hardest course I've ever taken a part of in my life.
And I intentionally said kind of done because the last assignment of the course was to build your own full stack project.
So I had one more thing to do, one final obstacle to overcome before I could officially close off this course and consider myself even slightly a junior software developer. And since I already couldn't wait during the course to build my own shit, it was very convenient that the last assignment of the course was to build your own project. However, if you do the math, I finished the course back in August 2022. And currently, when I'm uploading this, it's around May 2023. So you might be wondering what the fuck happened there. Well, this happened. And oh, I also got a job interview, which is quite interesting.
And little did I know that that interview would change my life. So the interview was at a company I had my eye on for a long time, and I very radically decided to apply 1 week before the start of a program for a job offer they had. And this job was a job that combined consultancy and coding.
And to be honest, thinking I would never convince them of hiring me because my coding experience was very minimal, to say the least.
So I locked myself in my room for 3 days straight, learning and preparing for the interview. Until this day, I can't believe this actually happened, but I must have done something right because I actually got hired.
Which meant that 3 days after the job interview, I would participate in the program the company offered, starting with 2 months of intense training. And in this period, all things just went so fast. I went literally from hesitating to apply for the job to a week later finding myself in full-time training.
And those 2 months were pretty intense, and I got introduced to so many new things. And I learned so much every day that building my own project in those months just would have been too much.
And while I now finally had a job at a company I actually liked, which also offered nice benefits like a car and good salary, and the work actually felt fulfilling to do, the coding journey just wasn't over yet. And after a huge delay of 2 months, I immediately got back at my coding journey, working at it in the early mornings and late evenings besides my job.
Oh man, I'm back. I'm coding. So I'm now following a tutorial for a full stack project. It's kind of an online library. You make a website where you can rent some books, and it actually gets registered in an SQL database. Coding the website with the .NET framework in C#. That's it for today. Okay, I'm going back in. And honestly, with the things I learned and the experience I now had, this went pretty smoothly, and maybe after a couple of weeks I had an online library, and although it looked horrible, it functionally worked, which meant I finally made the full stack project that I promised myself to make, and thereby also closed the CS50 encoding chapter for this video.
See, I told you all it was a f***ing long story. And well, this was my learning to code video. It's been quite a journey, to be honest. And I just want to say that if you take anything from this video, besides the fact I'm absolutely retarded, just know that if you ever made the wrong choices in your life, like me, and I don't care how old or young you are, it's f***ing never too late to change your life's course. And that's the video. So if you're still watching, I truly appreciate you all. So as always, I see you all in the next video. Peace!